Alright, so let me go back over here to my perspective view. So we're almost ready for the headphone jacks here. Now I'm not going to build headphone jacks from scratch again because I've already built them before. So to save time and energy, why not recycle the geometry and the work that we already did before? So I'm going to go ahead and go to my quad menu, go to unhide by name, and I'm going to unhide the front panel, which I apparently forgot to rename. I think it's called box 001. That's why it's important to rename your objects. So let me take that front panel. I'm going to go to Object Properties, and I'm going to rename it right now. I'm going to call it Front Panel. Check my spelling there. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now you notice that when I select the front panel, there's this kind of little white object down here, which is a bit annoying. What that is I somehow turned on the trajectory visibility. I guess I accidentally did that, didn't even notice it before. So I'll select the front panel. I'll go to the display tab over here, and I'll just go down to where it says trajectory and uncheck that, and that little thing goes away. So if you did that too and that's bothering you, well, that's how you get rid of it. If that didn't happen to you, then great, you're on the right track. So I'm going to come over here to where these headphone jacks are. Now I've also got USB ports, and I've created a FireWire port. So we know that there's a FireWire port in the back. We also know there's USB ports in the back as well as the headphone jacks. So we're going to steal all this geometry. I'm going to go to polygon mode. I'm going to select this polygon here. And I'm just going to grow my selection until I have all of these polygons selected right here. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Geometry, Detach. I'm going to hit Clone because I want to copy that. Okay? Let me rename this. Call this headphone jack. And if I take that new object, you can see the pivot point's all the way over there. So I'm just going to go to the Hierarchy tab, go to Center to Object for the pivot point, and I'll pull this out. So there's our headphone jack. Let's do the same for the, I'm going to go ahead and rip out the geometry for the USB and for the FireWire. You probably already know how to do that by now, so I'm going to skip ahead in the video and get that done. Alright, so I quickly went ahead and I ripped out this geometry. So I have the headphone jack, I have a USB port, and a FireWire. I made clones of these guys and ripped them out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all three of these guys. I'm going to move them back over here to the back area where we're working at. And I'm also going to rotate them 180 degrees so they're pointing backwards, which is what they're supposed to do. Now I don't need the front panel anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and hide it again. And now I can work on the back. I'm going to select the headphone jack. I'm going to bring it down here, kind of roughly position it according to the image right there. Try to get it to where it looks pretty good. So something like that looks pretty good. Now what I need to do is I need to get the headphone jack in the right position, because you can see it's far away from the computer case. It should be over here somewhere, but I'm not going to eyeball that because I need that part to come out perfect. So in order to guarantee it comes out perfect, I'm going to come over here to this guy. I'm going to take this polygon and I'll probably just delete that polygon, don't need it. I'm going to come back to this guy. I'm going to move the pivot point to this top left vertex up there, okay? And we saw a similar technique when we did the original headphone jacks in the front of the computer case. So I'm going to go over here to the Hierarchy panel. I'm going to go to Effect Pivot Only, turn on my snapping. You should have Vertex Snapping on. Snap that gizmo up there to that top left vertex. And what we can do now is we can just go ahead and steal some coordinates here. So I'm going to turn snapping off. I'm going to take this vertex that's there, hit F12 to open up the Transform Type-In tool, activate the Move tool. What I need is the Y-axis, so I'll take the Y-axis and copy that. Now I'm going to come to this guy, and I'm going to paste the Y-axis right there, hit Enter, and boom, there it goes. It's placed perfectly. Now the next thing to do is obviously to make this thing match. So in order to make it match, it's going to be pretty easy. I'm just going to go to Vertex Mode, select this vertex. I'm going to go to Vertex Snapping. I'm going to snap the middle of the gizmo there to vertex right there. That vertex right there. I'm going to snap that vertex there. I'm going to snap that vertex there. So just look at it real quick, scan it with your eyes, make sure that the snapping is correct and this thing's positioned correctly. Okay? And if you render that out, it actually looks pretty good, looks pretty seamless. Now next thing to do is to basically take all of these polygons that we don't need, delete those, they serve their purpose. And I'm going to take this guy here, And the pivot point is off right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my hierarchy tab again. And I'm going to turn on snapping. I'm going to snap that pivot point right there to that upper left corner. Okay. Now I'm going to take this guy, hold down shift, and then snap a copy to that corner vertex right there. Now when it gives you the clone options, make sure you select copy and tell it to do a number of copies set to 2. And then hit OK. And it'll automatically place a second copy over there in that corner where it belongs. So hold down shift, take this guy and snap him right there. Okay. When it asks you how many copies to do, in this case, if I were to hit 3 and hit OK, it's going to place them down there, which is not good. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to place that one there. I'm going to do number of copies 1. I'm going to hit OK. And then for this one, I'm going to hold down shift, go right there, hit 2 copies, hit OK, and it'll place them perfectly right there. Okay. So the next thing to do is pretty simple. I'm going to take the main object here, the rear panel. I'm going to go to attach. And I'm going to attach all 6 of these headphone jacks to that rear panel. Now you notice that with the X view we can see these green open edges. I'm going to turn snapping off, by the way. We have these green open edges. We need to get rid of those because it's not good to have open edges like that on your object. So I'm going to take all these vertices basically here in the top, bottom, and in the middle. And I'm going to go to my weld option box. And my threshold set at 0.1 is good, so I'm just going to hit the OK button. You'll see all the green edges disappear. If I go back to perspective view, I have a perfect seamless model. See that in the render? Perfect. Okay. Now what I need to do is do the same thing for the USB port. So for the USB port, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, place this guy roughly in position like this. Actually, let me move him out of the way for the moment. I have to prepare this area a little bit better. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this polygon, and that polygon. The reason I selected those 3 polygons is because USB ports are located on those polygons. I'm going to go to quick slice. I'm going to make some quick slices. I'm going to make a quick slice. Basically, let me see. I want to make a quick slice about right here. I'm going to make a quick slice in the middle, right there, and one over here on the right, about right there. Basically to separate those areas there. So now I have all of these polygons here for the USB ports. So now the process is pretty simple. I'll take this USB port, I'll bring it over here. Let me go to the hierarchy panel over here, and I'm going to go to centered object. Just move the pivot point to the middle here so it's easier to manipulate this. I'm going to kind of roughly put this in position like so. Alright, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to probably go to my camera view, my perspective view here. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. I'm going to go to vertex mode. I'm going to turn on my target weld tool. I'm going to target weld those back vertices to the corners in the back right there. Just cleaning this up a little bit, making this mesh a little bit nicer. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to polygon mode. I'm going to select those 2 inside polygons, or actually what I'm going to do is select these 2 polygons. I'm going to go up here to my modeling ribbon, go to modify selection, hit loop, select that whole loop of polygons. Then I'm going to grow my selection 1 time to select all of these polygons right here. I'm going to go back to the back view. What I'm going to do is use the scale tool, and I'm going to go ahead and hit Alt and right click to go to my quad menu here and change my coordinate system to world. I'm going to scale this in like this to make it more narrow. You want to be careful and not do it too much, however. I'm going to scale this in like so. If I go on my perspective view, you can see what I have. I'm going to go to border mode, select the border edges right there. I'm going to do the same with these. I'm going to go ahead and scale them in a bit to make that a little bit thinner, like that. That way it can fit a little bit better. Okay. If I go to my back view, you can see according to the border edges, this actually fits in pretty good. Now the next thing to do to make this work is pretty simple. I need to take the pivot point of this guy, go to the hierarchy tab, go to effect pivot point only. I'm going to snap with vertex to that top left corner right there. And what I'm going to do is come over here. I'm going to take these 2 polygons and delete those. I'm going to take this guy and vertex snap that corner to that corner right there. Now if I go back to this view, what I have to do is move this around just a little bit. I'm going to take vertex snapping off. I'm going to move this to about right there. I'm going to move it down to about right there. Take this guy, see where the vertices are located. That looks not too bad. Okay, so next thing to do, simply go over here into the perspective view. Go to vertex mode, and basically we can start to take these vertices here and snap them where they belong, which is about right there. That one didn't snap correctly. Snap that right there. Just make sure you're snapping everything correctly. So once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and take this guy. I'm going to go back to the hierarchy panel over here. I'm going to go to Effect Pivot Only. I'm going to snap that pivot point to that top vertex up there. Then I'm going to take this guy, hold down Shift to make a clone. And I'm going to clone that right there. I'm going to say OK. And there we go. That one fits perfectly. Now what you want to do is go ahead and create the USB port for all these other holes. So basically you have to create them for here, 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 and here. So delete those polygons and fill them in with your USB ports. So now that you saw the technique, go ahead and get the USB ports done for that area on your own. I'm going to finish that here. Now the FireWire port is the same deal. Okay, even though it's a FireWire port, it's the same exact technique as the USB ports and the headphone jack. So I'm not going to show you the same redundant process over and over again. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to skip ahead and get that done on my own. Go ahead and get that done on your own. Use the techniques I showed you to complete the task at hand. So I'll see you in the next video when we're both finished doing this.